What's up everyone, me JP2 here, and in today's video we're taking a look at level 50 Glaceon in the Master League. Now you might be wondering why I have a level 50 Glaceon, but it's because I wanted to build one for Shadow Gligar raids, because Gligar was being a massive pain, and when it was at level 40 it just wouldn't cut it. But now I have a level 50 Glaceon, so I figured might as well use it in the Master League, right? So today we're going to be taking a look at it in the Master League. It does pretty well into all the dragon types, with the exception of Dialga and Groudon, which means it does pretty well against a good lot of the meta. Anyways, that's about it. Let's hop into the battles. So hopping into the first match, we lead Togekiss into Shadow Mewtwo. This is a better lead than regular Mewtwo, because Togekiss still tanks a Psystrike, but Charms will do more damage. So we can let the first Psystrike go, won't take out the Togekiss. Now they will outpace us, but I can shield and get the Charm farm down if I want, and I'll leave with a potential move, but they switch into Tyranitar. We just bring in Shadow Machamp, and there's nothing Tyranitar can do. It's just getting wrecked. So we get the farm down. They're going to bring back in the Mewtwo, but I can go for a Cross Chop here. So now they have to shield or just lose the Mewtwo. They choose to lose the Mewtwo. They then bring in Dragonite, and this game is over. Glaceon just is going to wreck the Dragonite. Now that it's even shields, we can just bring in Glaceon. We don't even need to bring in Togekiss. And I have my shield. I'm going to use it. They go for a superpower. It's going to lower their attack and defense. And they make it to another one. Now you can see that Glaceon actually has some pretty good bulk, because it does tank that superpower, albeit on low HP, and we take that game. Hopping into the next match with Togekiss into Mewtwo. And this is a slightly worse matchup because of how Charm does less damage. So we're going to have to let the first one go through. They go for a Shadow Ball, which is better, because now we'll be able to outpace them to an Ancient Power. And we should be able to get a shield from them with this. Now we get the shield. Now we can actually shield back. And we'll be able to take switch advantage. And the Mewtwo goes for a Thunderbolt. Wow, I've not seen a moveset like that in a while. And then they bring in Primarina, and that's bad. Because Primarina does really well into Glaceon and Machamp. But it has Waterfall, so Machamp actually has a shot if it can make it to a Rock Slide in time. And we do make it to a Rock Slide. Primarina, not too bulky, so Rock Slide will get the KO. In the back, they have Groudon. Now the opponent, they're going for Fire Punch because it's super effective, so they think it's better. But Precipice Blades is actually slightly more efficient, even though it does not take out Glaceon. But we can go for an Avalanche, and it takes out the Groudon. We take that game. Hopping into the next match, we lead Togekiss into Mamoswine. This is a pretty bad lead, so we're going to switch into Glaceon. I should have checked the fast move, though, because they were Mud Slap. But then they switch into Togekiss. So this is some very questionable playing by my opponent. I go for an Icy Wind, anticipating the shield, hoping for the debuff, and they just don't shield. So we get the farm down, and then they come in with Metagross. This game should be pretty much over now. We go for an Avalanche, and they shield it now. Of course, when I don't go for the debuff, they shield it, but whatever. Now we can bring in Machamp, and Machamp should be able to close out this game. They shield the Cross Chop, and now 2-shield Shadow Machamp, absolute beast, beats anything that's not a Charmer, I think. I haven't fact-checked that, but it seemed like it would. So now, we can go for a Cross Chop, we'll be able to farm down the Metagross, or we can actually just let it go. Questionable play, but Togekiss should be able to Charm farm down here. Yeah, the Mud Slap's not gonna be doing them any favors. So they go for an Avalanche, but it's gonna take them a while to get to another one. So we can just go for an Ancient Power here. Don't even have to go for the Aura Sphere. And Ancient Power will take out the Mamoswine, and we take that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Togekiss into Mew. That's a very spicy pick. High level Mew. And so we're gonna just Charm, and we'll see what moves the opponent has. Mew can run almost anything, and they do have Wild Charge, unfortunately. Now, Togekiss would win CMP, I believe, so we can go for an Ancient Power, and they let it go through. That's a bit of an odd decision, because I thought they had energy, but whatever. They bring in Sylveon, and then they switch into Swampert. So we can bring in the Shadow Machamp, because Machamp has no play against Sylveon, and we can let the Hydro Cannon through. Shadow Machamp isn't that glassy, it's not attack Deoxys or anything. So we can go for a Cross Chop, and Cross Chop will do some nice damage. And I will shield this up, because if I can farm down the Machamp, which it looks like I will be able to, I should be able to make it to a Rock Slide. And this should get the shield back, because Rock Slide would do a ton of damage. So we go for the Rock Slide and we get the shield. Now, since Sylveon's their last Pokemon, we can go for the Icy Wind. And Glaceon does win CMP against Sylveon. And so the Icy Wind, they let it go through. I don't know why they did that, but it just means we can take them out now. They go for a Moonblast, and then they concede the match. And we take that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Togekiss in the Garchomp. Dominant lead, nothing Garchomp can do, so they switch into Mamoswine. We bring in Shadow Machamp, and we're just RPSing this opponent. This isn't even skill-based, honestly. We're just going to farm down the Mamoswine. And now they probably should bring back in the Garchomp, because it has no play against my Togekiss. So they do bring it back in. But we have so much loaded energy that we should be able to just go for cross-chop after cross-chop. And we should honestly be able to do enough damage to get this Garchomp past the yellow. And this cross-chop should do some nice damage or get a shield. It gets some nice damage. Now, I bring in Togekiss, and they have Metagross. We just don't win that. Anyways, in the next battle, we lead Togekiss into Dialga. Interesting lead. Since my Togekiss is pretty good, it can tank an Iron Head, and the opponent brings in Zacian. Zacian is a problem because close combat will wreck my Glaceon, but if it has Play Rough, it'll wreck my Machamp. So I need to know what they're running. They go for Wild Charge, though, and they're going to have to go for another move. They're not Snarl farming down a Fairy. And I can shield this. And I was hoping that the Charm would take them out when they debuff their defense, but it didn't. That's fine, though. Now, I bank an Ancient Power, and then switch into my Machamp. Now, I'm just going to let this go. I don't think Machamp actually does live that. And they switch into a Mudshot user. I don't remember what. Oh, Groudon. This is pretty good for Glaceon, because Glaceon can hit for super effective. Now, even if they go for Precipice Blades here, it wouldn't take out Glaceon. They go for a Fire Punch. I'd have to shield this one, though, unfortunately. So I do. And I'm going to try and get as much damage as possible by throwing on good timing. Go for the Icy Wind, get the shield. Perfect. And I try and snipe with the Ancient Power. Now, Ancient Power does not take out Groudon, but they throw. Since they threw, if I can get a farm down, I might be able to leave with a move. And we get the move. Now, I almost lose the match by my trying to throw on good timing, and we still take out the Dialga, though, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Togekiss into Kyogre. Very neutral lead. Neither side has an advantage. It's all neutral. Then they bring in their own Togekiss, and it's Glaceon time. Now, Glaceon with the Icy Wind should do pretty well against Togekiss. So this might get a shield. It doesn't, though, but we can just farm him down then, so no problems there. They then bring in Metagross, and I'm very glad that they brought in the Metagross, because if they had brought in the Kyogre and then had the Metagross for my Togekiss, I would be in a lot of trouble. Since they brought in the Metagross, though, Machamp can get massive damage in with counters, go for cross chops, and hopefully pull some shields while doing nice damage. We get a shield, and then they switch into Kyogre. They're probably trying to snipe with a move, but I switch into Togekiss, and I'm just going to let the Surf go through, try and make it to an Aura Sphere. We make it to the Aura Sphere, and now we're just going to try and see if Shadow Machamp can win this. They let the Kyogre go. Pretty big mistake. The opponent does get the one-turn switch in, though, so that Charm does register. I don't know how big of an impact that will do, but we do manage to farm down the Metagross, and we take that game. We see the Battle of Charmers in the next battle, Togekiss and a Gardevoir. Now, this is a pretty neutral matchup, since both Pokemon have Charm, but I do believe Togekiss loses CMP to Gardevoir, and it does. Now, I have to shield this, because Triple Axle will take out my Togekiss, and now I can just go for an Ancient Power. The opponent probably should just take their shield advantage, and they do. We get the boost from the Ancient Power, but since they have Excadrill, that does pretty much nothing, because it doesn't make Togekiss live a Rock Slide. Probably got, like, a bit of extra charm damage, but that's about it. We then bring in Machamp. Machamp will tank a Drill Run. Not too well, though. And then the opponent switches into Dragonite, and this is where Glaceon just comes in clutch. They didn't farm up to a superpower, so I don't need to shield this. It's just a Dragon Claw. And with this Icy Wind debuff, it'll make it so they can't farm us down, because it would end up as a simultaneous KO, so they have to throw. Now they're low enough that Machamp can just counter down. They go for the Dragon Claw. We get the counter down on the Dragonite. They bring in the Excadrill, and we just counter farm them down. We take that game. Hopping into the next battle, we lead Togekiss into Lunala. I have never seen this thing before, so it's going to be a very interesting matchup because I have no idea what this thing does. I'm not familiar with the moveset, so I shield. It's just a Shadow Ball. That probably would still do huge damage, though. So we go for an Ancient Power now, get a shield. And the opponent, they're not going to be able to farm me down, so they're going to have to go for a move. And so I'm just going to let it go. Hopefully we can get a farm down with Glaceon, and we do. Now the opponent, they bring in Mewtwo, and I throw on good timing here. And this Icy Wind actually does not get a shield. Mewtwo, I think most Mewtwo's would shield that move, but this one didn't. But it does put us into a Psystrike survival range. Not very well, evidently, but we do tank the Psystrike, and then they shield the Icy Wind. I have to immediately switch into Machamp, because if they get the farm down, they'll have too much energy. Now, if they had gone for a catch, there's absolutely no win count for me, because Machamp would lose CMP, but they don't. Then they bring in Dragonite. This is going to be very close. Machamp, since it has Rock Slide, will do a lot of damage, but the opponent does throw. Now we just have to see if Dragonite can get the farm down with one, and they do. So Glaceon gets farmed down and we lose. Anyways, hopping in the next battle, we see Togekiss into Xerneas. Shiny Xerneas, nice flex. And they go for the Geomancies, and we're going to go for the Charm. And we're going to let this first move go through. They can't possibly KO us, even if it is a Thunder, which it is. And then they bring in Metagross. We can go for a Cross Chop. Cross Chop should not be doing too much damage, and they don't shield it. So now, we're going to shield up the Meteor Mash. That would take out my Machamp. But now we can just get a farm down. Now, with the Rock Slide, we should probably be able to get a shield back from whatever they bring in. So we're going to wait and see what they bring in. And they bring in a Dragon Flying type. I did not see what it was. And it's a Dragonite. I go for a Cross Trap out of panic. The opponent doesn't shield it. But now, I can go for a Rock Slide. A Rock Slide takes out the Dragonite. And now, I bring in my Togekiss into the Xerneas. I'm just trying to get him as low as possible. They know shield the Ancient Power. I don't know if they knew it was over or not, but we take him out and we take that game. Anyways, next battle, Togekiss into Dragonite. Dominant lead. Opponent switches into Melmetal. And it's just another RPS game. So now we can go for a Cross Chop. This might take out the Melmetal, but they shield it. They're probably trying to get the superpower damage off. Thing is, we will have another move after this, so we can actually win CMP or just let it through. Melmetal, they have to go for a superpower. Will not take out my Machamp. They debuff themselves. We get the farm down. They bring in another Dragon type. I don't even remember what this one was. It was a Dragonite. I thought I saw at least one Rayquaza when I was doing these battles, but I guess not. We go for a Cross Chop. That's all we make it to. Doesn't take out the Dragonite. And we go for the move with Glaceon, taking him out with the Ice Shard. And then the opponent has Giratina Origin. We can go for an Icy Wind. Doesn't matter if they shield it or not. The debuff is what matters. And then the opponent, they probably just realized that I had the Togekiss, so they give up. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I love level 50 Glaceon. It's probably one of my favorite evolutions, simply because how the type works, because of how Ice is just like not considered to be the best type, but Glaceon does pretty well with it. So, Togekiss also did very well in my opinion, and Shadow Machamp performed very well. So I was overall very happy with the results of running this team. Anyways, that's it for today, and I'll see you on the next video.